to be able to just make a choice on your own and just be able to speak for yourself.
This One's Wife, the Rudest. See you next Tuesday. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. There are times when being plain and direct are necessary and indeed invariably effective. In this instance, it is calling this one's wife for what she is. A rude. See you next Tuesday. This one's wife thinks that she's a kind person. She thinks this because her narcissism allows her to believe that that is the way that she behaves. She thinks, for instance, because she takes a picture of herself and a video of herself with a duck and some ducklings, that makes her a cute animal lover. She thinks because she hugs everybody that she meets, irrespective of whether they want to be hugged or not, that because she's a hugger, that makes her a warm, loving individual, not some stiff, cold, standoffish person. She fails to understand, because she's blinded by her narcissism, that she is an intrusive individual that fails to recognise boundaries, that only behaves the way that she does in order to elicit approval from people, which is fuel. She doesn't understand that she operates a facade. She doesn't realise that her behaviours are performative, because the narcissism doesn't allow her to know all of this. But as a mid-range narcissist, one of the most common behaviours that you will find is that the narcissist believes that they are a truly good person, and they will often behave in a way which is akin to a truly good person publicly, but behind the scenes they are a horrible, awful see you next Tuesday. Many mid-range narcissists get away with this because not only is it the case that their facade is reasonably good and doesn't fracture too often, but when they are a complete see you next Tuesday to people behind the scenes, those individuals tend to be few in number and often don't end up talking to one another. And accordingly, it's often the hapless intimate partner primary source who thinks that they are the problem because they see that the narcissist, although they don't know that this person is a narcissist, is decent to everybody else. They end up thinking, well, I must be doing something wrong because they're so hateful to me. They see the way that the narcissist talks kindly to other family members, to their friends, to general members of the public, and that people respond to them and think well of them. And yet it is just them that is called names, that ends up being accused of things that they've not done, possibly even physically assaulted. But the problem for this one's wife is that because she's so exposed, this poses a problem for her in two ways. First of all, it means that we actually get to see many of the cracks in the facade, mask slips if you will, as a combination of being overexposed and threats to control, so that she can't mask it, and you have the benefit, of course, of my analysis telling you what it is. And then secondly, more people who have been on the receiving end of her poor behaviour have begun to speak out. Initially, nobody did. There were rumours, there were comments, but nothing more than that. Many people expected that people would come forward and speak out about what had happened. But realistically, until recently, there's only been Dr. Sophie Chandauka who has spoken out about both Harry and this one's wife. Yes, she was known as the Duchess of Difficult with relation to the staff. Yes, she was accused of bullying staff. Jason Knorf issued complaints about it. Members of staff resigned. The Hollywood Reporter explained that she bullied people in the United States that worked for her, but there were no names. There was nobody coming forward with a tell-all interview. The reason being is that many people had signed up to NDAs and didn't want to find themselves on the receiving end of legal action. It's also the case that many of these individuals, they have to show discretion, otherwise they may not get another job, because if they are known for talking, even if they are telling the truth, then those that are hiring may be less likely to want to do so. And therefore, it has generally been rumour, based upon fact, but rumour that hasn't been attributed to people about this once wife's behaviour. But there's been a steady groundswell building up. Talk about how she's treated Harry, how she treated Princess Charlotte, how she behaved towards the Princess of Wales, how she's behaved towards her father, how she's behaved towards her half-brother and half-sister, the way that she's treated friends, and the bullying allegations keep coming. All of this is par the course with a mid-range narcissist such as this one's wife, who attempts to maintain a facade to the outside world of being kind and empathic, whilst behind the scenes in one-on-ones is awful, rude, a see you next Tuesday. The reason being that she asserts control through the use of the facade publicly. But when it comes to individuals not doing what she wants and threatening control, they automatically become painted black and be subjected to malign manipulations, whereby she bullies them, insults them, shouts at them, humiliates them, dresses them down. And more of this information has come to light, demonstrating what a see you next Tuesday she is, courtesy of Ed Holt, writing for the Daily Mail, who explains that this one's wife was so rude to a royal gardener that the late Queen Elizabeth II was forced to intervene. The shocking allegation is one of a number of complaints lodged against the Duchess of Sussex, which claims she was difficult to work with and that she would often bully members of staff. According to royal historian Hugo Vickers, there was trouble while Harry and this one's wife were living at Frogmore Cottage between 2019 and March 2020. In one incident, the Duchess of Sussex was so rude to an under gardener that the head gardener in Windsor felt the need to complain to the late Queen, who then drove over to this one's wife to give her a dressing down. The fact that the head gardener deemed that it was appropriate to raise this with the Queen demonstrates that quite clearly the level of behaviour was intolerable, unacceptable, and that of a see you next Tuesday. That the head gardener couldn't tell the under gardener, oh, just ignore it, just shake it off, but clearly felt that it was absolutely abhorrent behaviour, so much so that the head gardener intervened and spoke to the Queen. And the Queen did not dismiss the concerns. Undoubtedly, as a consequence of the Queen recognising that this one's wife was trouble, she understood that it was no surprise to hear that this one's wife had behaved in such a manner, and therefore she had to intervene. The head gardener went to complain to the Queen, and she told her off because she obviously didn't like people being rude to staff, Mr. Vickers told The Sun. This one's wife has developed a reputation in the workplace for being difficult to work with. In September 2024, an unnamed source told the Sunday Times that they witnessed people being chewed up in person and over the phone and made to feel like shit. Another source claimed that this one's wife screamed at a florist down the phone for half an hour after they failed to mention in a post online that the Duchess of Sussex was working with them on a bouquet. That is the classic behaviour of a mid-range narcissist such as this one's wife. The failure to mention her threatens her need for control because everything must revolve around her. Rather than point this out in a constructive fashion, her heated, ignited fury surges to the surface, prompting her to hoover the individual down the telephone and scream at them, invalidating and belittling them through the emission of the heated fury, as no doubt they sought to defend themselves against the onslaught. Earlier this year, Vanity Fair claimed that this one's wife would reportedly be warm and effusive towards employees at the start, which of course is all part of the way that the narcissist draws people in, before turning cold and withholding towards the person she perceived to be responsible, i.e., when they threatened her control, then they would either be subjected to heated ignited fury, screaming at them down the telephone, or cold ignited fury, whereby she ignores them, gives them the cold shoulder. These claims, which echo accusations from her time at Kensington Palace, paint a troubling picture of a woman whose behaviour allegedly left staff having therapy and led to allegations bullying behind the scenes. In this instance, information about her conduct towards a gardener has come forward. It's yet more evidence of behaviour that is no surprise to a commentator such as I, that is an expert in narcissism. The fact is, this one's wife is a see you next Tuesday. She believes that she is better than anybody else, and because she is so important, you must always do what she needs. If you fail to do so, you are a bad person. Whatever you might have done for her before is irrelevant. It is erased, it is eradicated, because all her narcissism does is cause her to focus upon your transgression. And that means she will scream at you, she will shout at you, she will belittle you. She doesn't care for the fact that you might have worked in that household for years. She doesn't care for the fact that you might be respected by a variety of other people within the royal family. You have failed to do what she wants. It does not matter whether anybody would regard what her request or order was, and as to whether it was reasonable or not. In her mind, you should just do what she wants, because it's her. And any failure on your part to comply with what is demanded of you means that you threaten her need for control. You automatically become painted black, and this is the result. You're subjected to her treating you in the behaviour of a complete see you next Tuesday. It really is no surprise to hear further allegations about her screaming down the phone to a florist and berating an undergardener in the way described in this article. It's all par the course for a see you next Tuesday, such as this one's wife. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.